DCFM 88.9. It's 14 past 9. It's Wednesday morning, so it's that time of the week when we do exactly this.
It's time now for the latest news on what's hot and what's not in the world of technology with Mathew Dickerson on Tech Talk. Here on DCFM 88.9.
Morning, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I'm not in the studio with you, unfortunately, but we're using technology, Richard, so that's all good.
Yeah, we are indeed. It's a pity, but we can't film at the moment because of COVID restrictions and all those sort of things. You'd have to go through a mountain of paperwork to be able to do it. So let's give it a miss. It's easier on the phone.
Yeah.
I've already said it, but you're president of Rotary South. Thanks for having me last night. I did appreciate it, and it was a good night. You got some wonderful people in your club.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, have you ever thought about the power of poo? Oh, why do you send me these stories? But it's a good story. Away you go.
Well, I've wondered if you've ever thought about the power of poo. I haven't thought about it beforehand, but some people at a university in South Korea have not only thought about it, but there's now a toilet in the university that you can go to, and you know that your poo is going to be turned into power that's used in that particular building that you're in. So it basically takes away the feces. There's some microorganisms that work on it then, turns it into methane, and then that's burnt to basically produce hot water and produce power. So effectively, when you're in the building, you turn on hot water. You might have had that hot water heated by feces that you produced. Now, the next question I know you're going to want to know, how much power is Richard Mutton capable of producing in one day? Well,
exactly. How much power do I produce? Can I boil a kettle?
Well, maybe. You would produce about half a kilogram of feces, which converts to about 50 litres of methane gas, and that's about 0.5 kilowatt hours of electricity. If you convert that to a car, you could drive a car for about 1.2 kilometres. So it gives you a bit of an idea. But at this South Korea university, you can convert that particular defecation into a little digital currency they've created called Jigul, which is honey in Korean. Not sure why they used that particular one.
Well, I think it's taken away from the other side of things. But anyway, this bit just blows my mind, folks. Have a listen to this.
So you basically go and use that toilet. You get 10 Jigul a day for using that toilet, and then you can go to the cafe and buy, say, for example, a cup of coffee or buy some fruit or some noodles, and so then you just have this circle of life. So you're buying with the defecation, you get the currency, you buy the food, which then makes you defecate, and it goes around in this big, beautiful circle. So it's a great idea.
This is a great idea. I can see a lot of poor Korean university students, like poor university students in Australia, leaving home, hanging on until they get to work.
Can't go, Mum. I gotta go.
Yeah, gotta go. Hurry up, get the free coffee. Oh dear, me. Moving right along. That's a wonderful story, though. It really is. And let's hope. On a serious note, let's hope that other people pick it up, and we do have loos that generate methane and can power things. It's a very good idea, really.
It is.
It goes to full circle. Now, if I'm not a vegetarian, but would a vegetarian eat meat if it was grown in a lab?
Well, I've actually done a little bit of a pop quiz here. A few vegetarians that I know, I've actually rung them and said, I've got this story I'm going to do. Would you eat meat if it wasn't from an animal that had to be killed? And there's three reasons typically people are vegetarians. One is they don't like the idea of an animal being killed. Two, they don't like the impact that animals have on the climate. And three, some people just don't like the taste of it. But we've got now meat that's taken from live animals. You don't need to kill the animal. They take stem cells from a live animal. They put that into a culture. They feed it plant material and they get ready for it. They grow meat in a laboratory. It sounds fascinating. You can grow beef. You can grow chicken, lamb, pork. It's all able to be done. Last year in Singapore, at the end of last year, the first ever legal sale to a consumer at a restaurant occurred with lab-grown meat. But it was only done in small quantities. Israel has just opened the world's first ever full-blown factory for lab-grown meat. Now, they're going to start producing 500 kilograms a day of lab-grown meat. Obviously, that's not a huge amount in the whole scheme of world production, But this is very early days. This is the first factory in the world that's actually doing it. And they'll get to the point where they think they'll be getting some commercial quantities into the US by as early as next year. So these initial quantities will be used already, and they'll be sold to places that are legal for them to be sold. I imagine a lot of this will go to Singapore initially. But the meat apparently has got all the same qualities as normal meat. The taste of it apparently isn't quite the same because it's not the sort of muscle structure that a normal bit of meat from an animal would have. It's more like a mince meat, but all the qualities of the meat are still there minus the fat. So it's actually healthier than normal meat. No animals were killed in the process. The climate was looked after. It sounds absolutely fantastic.
Well, I suppose if it's mincemeat, they could make it into hamburger patties and put a bit of onion in it or something or other to spice it up a bit, couldn't they?
Yeah, that's exactly
make it into snags.
Yeah, and that's exactly the example they gave. They said the 500 kilograms would be used for about 5,000 hamburger patties initially. So that's exactly the sort of thing. Because if you love that meat, that steak that's got that beautiful texture about it, then you probably won't have a great appeal with this type of meat. Again, it will give you all the same levels of protein, all the same nutrients, but it just doesn't have that same sort of quality to it. But who knows, in the future, Richard, they might start putting some electric shocks across that culture as it's growing, so it gives you some sort of texture there. I don't know. I wouldn't have thought we had lab-grown meats if someone asked me 10 years ago.
That's true. There's always tomato sauce and mustard.
That's right. Covers up anything.
Now, this one really interests me too, a pollution-eating car at the Goodwood Festival. Lots of things going on at the Goodwood Festival. And Gemma made some wonderful comments yesterday. How come Tom Cruise was at Wimbledon and the next minute he's at the Goodwood Festival? That's an aside.
Yeah, right.
Are there lookalikes around the place? We don't know. But anyway, Tom Cruise at two places at once. But at Goodwood, this car.
Yeah, so British designer Thomas Heatherwick was given the job. Now, he's probably well known for the Google head office and maybe some buses in the UK as well. But he was asked to design a car and basically was told to do whatever you think should be done with a car. So one of the things he came up with, obviously an electric car, that's, a modern car is always going to be electric, but one of the things he came up with was, well, cars contribute to pollution, so could we have cars go the other way and actually take pollution out of the air? So instead of a grill that goes through to a radiator like a normal car would have, this grill goes through to a HEPA filter and basically takes about a tennis ball size of particulate matter out of the air as it drives around. Now, that's not a lot, one tennis ball size for one car. But if you started to get hundreds, thousands, millions of these cars on the road, think about what that would do in terms of reducing the pollution out on the roadway. So cars could be the good guys in the climate or the pollution environment rather than the bad guys in the pollution environment. The other thing
that'd be good because, in China, for instance, everybody in China in the last 30 years has got a car virtually, and so just around in China alone might clean up some of their pollution they've got, which is still terrible. Yeah,
exactly right. Then the second thing that he's done is he said that when he did some research, cars for over 90% of the life of a car, it's sitting there doing absolutely nothing. So he kind of thought of the idea of flying first class in an aeroplane. You can turn tables around, you can have meetings in there in a first class cabin. You can actually use it to live on for maybe half a day while you're flying somewhere. So he thought maybe a car can be used to live in. That might solve some housing crises around the world. It might actually allow you to take advantage of that real estate that's sitting there being wasted most of the time. So he designed the car, the inside of the car, where you could turn seats around, you could use it as a meeting room, and the seats actually turn into beds just like in an aircraft. So you can actually use it as somewhere you sleep. You can actually have meetings in there. I mean, I'd be a bit concerned if someone said to me, just come out and meet me in my car for our business meeting, Richard. It just sounds like something that you wouldn't really be that trustworthy of someone. But the logic is there, because what do we do with our cars most of the time? We park them and they sit there and they're not used.
Yeah, but they get hot. And I imagine in a car, there's only a closed space and someone opened up a garlic sandwich a bit rough.
Yeah, well, maybe he's got some more filters inside the car to take advantage of that. Wait. But imagine having cars that you park in a Coles car park, for example, and people sleep in them overnight. So if people are doing it tough and haven't got somewhere to sleep, here you go, sleep in my car. I mean, the concept's there. I can see some logistics problems, but I can see where he's going with it.
I can too, and there's probably some good possibilities there. At this stage, though, sleeping in your car has another meaning, doesn't it, for poor people, which is awful.
Yeah.
Finally, mate, it's coming up to 9:23. Harley motorbikes, they are now electric, And I've got one question before I do anything else. The Harleys, when they're electric bikes, silent, or do we still hear that wonderful noise?
No, they're silent. And I've ridden...
No, that's it. All over Red Rover, don't want to know.
I've ridden Harleys. In fact, I've ridden a good friend of ours, Paul Loxley's. You know Paul very well. I've ridden one of his Harleys in the past. And, just that beautiful sound of the V-twin typically, and that feel of a Harley. It sounds fantastic. But Harley see that there is a market there. They released one electric motorcycle. It didn't go that well. It was quite expensive. It was about $30,000. It didn't have quite the range. It was kind of their first iteration, and they tested out the market. They obviously thought it was good enough because they've spun off an entire division now. They've called this division Livewire. It's a division of Harley-Davidson. And when they've been interviewed about this, people have said, what do you think traditional Harley riders will think of the Livewire? And Harley have said, this is not about traditional Harley riders. We think there's still a market for those traditional Harley riders, but there's an entirely new market out there that would still love the Harley brand name, but they want something new. So Livewire 1, which is a bit ironic that it's their second version, but Livewire 1 is their second electric motorcycle they've brought out. It's got better specs. It's come down in price, about $20,000, so still expensive but cheaper than their first one. Again, that beautiful Harley name, the beautiful Harley design, handles beautifully because the batteries are down low, so the centre of gravity is very low. Performance is unbelievable. It'll outperform any other Harley in the range because it's got all that instant torque when you take off the line. So you can be sitting there at the traffic lights. There can be a beautiful old throbbing traditional Harley beside you. You just smile across at him as the lights go green and leave him in your, well, there's no smoke anymore. Leave him in your, electric vapor. I'm not sure what you leave him in, but basically leave him behind. So it's a different riding experience, and certainly without a doubt there is a market out there. Zero motorcycles have proved there's a market out there for this, but that Harley name added to it, I think, will get a lot more people with some confidence.
Yeah, you need an amplifier and an amplifier just near the exhaust or whatever, and a little soundtrack in there, so when they accelerate, you get the noise as well, because I think that's half the fun of a Harley. Always good talking with you, mate. Great tech talk. We'll catch up next Wednesday. Maybe we'll be able to film. I don't know, but if not, we'll grab you on the phone again.
Right, thanks, Richard.
Okay then. Mathew Dickerson and Tech Talk every Wednesday morning here.